This podcast episode may contain explicit material. Listener viewer discretion is advised. The intention is not to offend, but to provide information. Proceed only if you are comfortable with potentially sensitive content.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with Sheriff Jason Ard. I'm Jason Ard. We started this podcast to educate everyone on the role of the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. We're about serving and protecting our community. On this podcast, we will tackle lots of topics. On today's podcast, we will be tackling financial crimes as well as scams. I'm very excited about this episode, mainly because I get a lot of phone calls. I know some of you do about your just different scams, but I have two individuals here with me today. Both icons of the Sheriff's Office when it comes to financial crimes. We greatly appreciate them taking their time out of their day to come here. And that is going to be Detective Clyde Lawrence, as well as Detective Travis Pittman. Thank you guys for taking the time out and being here with us today.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And look, you guys have been here a while. I want to go over y'all's background so people know who they're listening to. I'm going to start with you, Clyde. You started in detention center, correct?
Yes, sir. I did 3 years there, went to the academy. 3 years on the road, and then I was lucky enough to get chosen to go to detectives. Been there ever since.
Yeah, and he didn't go to the academy 3 years in a row. You actually was on the street,
yes,
right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And Travis, what about your background?
I have uniform patrol experience from 2007 to 2015, where I transitioned into detectives over at Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office, where I worked in financial crimes. Left there in 2020, went to state police, and got to come work for your agency where I love where I'm at and I love what I'm doing.
And we enjoy having you. That's for sure. You guys do such a great job. I get so many compliments on you. And I just really wanted to do this episode because, again, we get so many, I get a lot of calls personally from friends of mine that their parents or grandparents have become a victim, or, you know, now this scam has been going around lately of an actual sheriff's deputy calling their house because they didn't show up for jury duty or whatever the case may be. And I kind of want to get into that, but it was kind of funny. I know y'all probably have had this happen to you, but I actually had a friend of mine called, and her mother and father was being scammed by a guy that was supposedly from the sheriff's office. And I think he said his name was Captain Hayden Brown, who does work here, but I knew it wasn't him. And she was trying to get, so she had him on three-way and tried to merge me in, and the guy wouldn't let her, you know, the perpetrator wouldn't let her swap over to talk to me. So he finally was able to merge me in, and as soon as I started speaking, of course, the call ended. And that's a big deal with those scams. Can you kind of walk us through one of those cases of, you know, because I know there's a what are they doing these scams for? What are they trying to retrieve from these individuals?
So I can tell you I've had several of these, as has Clyde's had some. We've investigated them back to prisons in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, where it's actually prisoners inside facilities running these scams, and they're doing it to generate commissary inside the facility so they have money and generate money for other crimes that they commit outside the facility.
That's crazy. Current inmates doing scams.
That's it.
Out of the inmate prison. Mm-hmm. And imposing as police officers.
A lot of times they target sex offenders in our area because.
Well, I remember when that was going on, they were targeting them.
Yeah, they'll threaten saying they're no longer in compliance. You know, either you pay us this money or you're going to go back to jail. They use scare tactics.
Yeah.
It's all about scare tactics. And unfortunately, a lot of people fall for it. Even though, I mean, everyone at this point should know that no law enforcement agency is ever going to call you and tell you, hey, if you don't pay me in Bitcoin or if you don't pay me in gift cards, you're going to go to jail.
That's another telltale. You know, we do not call you and say, hey, you got a warrant. No. You got to pay me over the phone. You got to pay your fine. Now, we may call you and tell you to come up to the office because we need to talk to you. Mm-hmm. You don't want that call. But normally we make that call, but it will never be a negotiations over the phone of what kind of money you pay for your fine. We don't do that.
No.
So that's important for people to know. Is there anything that dealing with that topic, that type of scan, that people need to kind of look out for outside of what we just said?
If you have any question about the phone call, the validity of the phone call, call in through our direct number.
Yeah, that's absolutely important too. Make sure that we get involved in that, because a lot of times people, oh, it's just another scam, and sometimes we don't know that it's maybe a new type scam going on that we want to go back and look at. So you never know whenever you can pop somebody and arrest them out of Alabama being an inmate, and then you have all these cases, kind of like a burglary. If you got 5 people that their vehicles are burglarized and only one of them calls it in, and we might want to make an arrest, well, we don't know about the other burglars because you never actually reported to us. Yeah. So sometimes it's good to have that information.
Unfortunately, a lot of times we're playing catch up because a lot of people will get these phone calls, but they don't notify us until 2-3 weeks after the incident has occurred. And by then, any chance of us recovering any funds is long gone.
Yeah. Like anything, the quicker the better.
Yes, sir.
Especially when somebody's taking your money.
I do have one of these cases involving the phone calls that we've had recently that I'm getting ready to make an arrest warrant on. I'm going to be doing an application for arrest. He's actually an inmate in a facility in Georgia.
And I'm sure he's called more people in this area than what you've got him charged with. That's why it's important to get that information. And there's so many other scams that are out there that y'all deal with, not just a phone call, but it goes so deeper into other things. And I mean, the romance scams, I know that's something that I've had some, friends that have been caught up in that, and are their parents or grandparents or even their kids have been caught up in these romance scams. I mean, what do y'all look for in that type of deal for it to become a crime? Because a lot of it involves money, is all this boils down to.
So unfortunately,
he's looking at you, Kyle, like you the romance guy. So you must be the king of this, then, right?
So unfortunately, I have had quite a few of these. We have a large elder population here in the parish that are widowed. They're home alone. They get lonely. They get online, start communicating, and they get taken advantage of. I've worked a couple of these where large sums of money have been scammed out of these individuals. We recently had one where a lady thought she was talking to an individual in Italy, a 23-year-old man, and was an opera singer, and scammed her out of a large amount of money. I was able to stop some of it and actually went to another elder in California that was also being scammed, and she was taking those funds out and turning it into Bitcoin and sending it to an individual who thought she was in love with. So it's usually, whenever we see these cases, the bank of first deposit, where that money first hits, is going to be what's called the money mule. They are another person that's being scammed, and they're turning those funds or laundering those funds for the scammers, so that way they can clean up those funds whenever they get them. Mm-hmm. So
that's crazy. I actually had a friend of mine, I think, that I hooked you up with that was having the same type of problem, where somebody was trying to deposit a large quantity of money, to eventually scam her out of money or use her to launder money.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But look, you need to know this. And again, if this is another one of those scams, as you know, Travis, you said earlier, the most important thing, they need to call us and report these type of things to us so we can actually help you maybe recover money. If nothing else, at the end of the day, we might be able to get you a little justice and maybe even keep this guy from continuing these operations as much as we can.
Well, unfortunately, that generation is also our more prideful generation.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they don't want to tell anybody. They don't want people to know about it. They want to keep it as close to the chest as they can. And then we don't ever find out about it until their children or grandchildren come along and they're like, hey, well, I was looking at someone's bank account and I seen that there's $80,000 missing. What's the deal? And then they find out about it and then they report it to us. And
which sometimes is too late for us to try to recover that money.
Very much so.
What's important is anything they report to us, we're going to be very clandestine, very private about their business, and we're going to go beyond to investigate it for them and try to get justice for them.
Yeah, and you guys do that. I've seen it firsthand. I get, again, a lot of compliments. And it's so important that we work together with our community. And, look, when you have these things going on, I'm going to say this through this whole episode, contact up as soon as possible. And there's most of the time, I think a high majority of the time, we can keep this private. Mm-hmm. We're not out there trying to, put your business on the street. We want to stop it from happening. And a lot of times we can do that, recover your money, and, outside of a possible having to testify, which is very unlikely because the case is a good, a good case, then you can even skip the prosecution and don't even really need a witness because y'all do such a good job most of the time on that kind of stuff.
Well, a lot of those sometimes arrests are made, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
It's more of trying to recover as much as what we can for the victim at that point, because a lot of times those suspects are not even in the country.
Right.
I mean, I've tracked people to Nigeria, Ireland, Hong Kong, China. It's all over the country.
Yeah.
All over the world we track people to, and unfortunately those are in jurisdictions that we have no control or say over.
Right. Well, and that's why it's important to try to get the information as quick as can to try to recover or stop that transaction from happening. And speaking of that, I know cash apps. That's a big thing. I
don't use any of them. I don't cash app.
You have that Cash App, you have Venmo, PayPal, all those. Is it Zello Pay?
Zello Pay.
Yeah. So that's another type of app that they do these scams on, right?
Yes,
It is.
Is there something that we can provide with the listeners of how they can avoid?
2-stage authentication on anything you do. That'll keep people a lot of times out of your Zelle and Cash App and all those other accounts. If you don't need them, don't use them. I don't use any of them, just for the simple fact that there's too many of them out there are very easily compromised, and they're all attached to your bank account. Mm-hmm. So if they compromise one account, they can compromise the others.
The most important thing that I see coming across my desk is people not securing their monetary instruments, their credit cards, and their checks. All it takes to steal money off one of these applications is a payment method. And a lot of times it happens in the home with a family member that might have a substance abuse problem. They take a picture of the front and back of a credit card, and then they upload it to a Cash App, and then they start taking money. And the better you can insulate those monetary instruments, the less likely you're going to be exposed to that type of fraud.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to be able to do stuff like that to keep that from happening. I don't keep no money in my account, so nobody's gonna scam me. But so you also there's of course phone fraud, and we kind of went over that stuff a little bit, and but the mail fraud. Before I get to mail, but I want to go back. We just did a case recently on check washing.
Mm-hmm. We get a lot of those.
And look, I had to call and ask your major. I was like, hey, what's check washing? I'm gonna get this question. I've never heard of that term before. Of course, he explained it to me. It makes a lot of sense. But so that's when they take an actual check and they basically can wash the name and stuff off of it, right? And put their information on it.
That's correct. They'll take a check that they steal out of the mail or out of a blue box, which is the mailbox outside of a post office. They'll get a key that opens us up, or they'll fish out of the box. Once they get the check, they'll wash the name off of it through different chemicals, or they might remake the check with all the same information on it with a 3-in-1 printer or some type of digital scanner, and they'll go cash the check. And they've been very successful at it.
But is there a good prevention for that?
Stop mailing checks.
Stop mailing checks.
That's the biggest thing. Go to a...
Come on, man. That's how I pay all my bills.
I'm just saying. Stop mailing checks. Go to ACH payments for anything you need to do online. Because, they're not just stealing it from your mailbox. They're actually stealing it from the post office.
Wow.
They have employees at the post office that have a Telegram app, and they'll take a photo of the check and put it out there on Telegram saying, hey, who wants to buy this account information? And somebody will say, I'll take it. And they'll send them some money. They'll send them the account information. And that's why you'll get checks cashed in New Jersey and New York and all over the place.
So you can't mail checks. You can't use cash apps. So is it best just to go drive and drop my actual money off to these individual people? It's getting to be.
I know getting to that point.
Yeah, it's difficult. These criminals are they study, they know what they're doing, and they really focus on these opportunities that are out there.
Yes, sir.
So if you're a business in the parish and you're doing business with checks who are mainly targeted through these mail fraud scams, the best thing to do is get set up with Positive Pay at the bank. It's where it's a pre-registration for any monetary instruments or checks that go out with the financial institution, so they know what checks, what amounts are supposed to be clearing the accounts. It's an internal control that they have set up to prevent that type of fraud. And that's something businesses can do. And also stop putting your checks in the mailbox outside your business. Have somebody run it directly to the post office and drop it at the post office. That takes out one layer of the exposure. Not saying that it might not happen once it gets to the post office, but it's less likely.
Yeah, that's good information too. Speaking of banks, I know that's a big ticket item as well. We've had some large cases. One recently, not long ago, I think it was you, Travis, or both of you worked with the $850,000. Actually, it was money being wired. So it's not only individuals that can be scammed; they'll jump into these banks and during a wire transfer. Am I correct?
This specific scenario was at a local bank that we have here, a pretty large bank. I'm not going to put their name out there. But,
yeah, we good. Yeah. No, we don't have to do that.
They were compromised for $872,000.
Wow.
It was a line of credit email compromise where they were spearphished, where somebody within the bank accepted an email that had malware inside the email. It allowed the bad actors, the perpetrators, to be able to access the network internal email system for the bank, where they were able to send some internal emails to negotiate this wire transfer to go out to this account that we located in Alabama, and we've actually made an arrest on it.
All right. I'm not a big Alabama fan, but I like the state of Alabama. But they got some problems over there coming over here, right?
They do. I've actually had several cases that have all went back to Alabama that I've actually made arrest on.
I just got notified of one this morning about some stuff going on in Alabama.
Y'all be careful with the people from Alabama. So, but we recovered and was able to stop that transaction of the $872,000, correct?
Yes, sir. I was actually at a school function. We were off that Friday. I can't remember what exactly it was for, but I left Doyle Elementary and shot right over to the office because it's literally a minute and a half away. And I started the kill chain process to be able to recover the money, which is a process that we use on the Secret Service Task Force that we participate in. And I contacted the receiving bank, was able to freeze all the money. I prepared legal orders, and I was able to recover the entire $872,000 for the financial institution.
That's awesome. That's awesome to be able to do that. I know the bank was very happy about that we were able to stop that. So great job. But now you mentioned two things, spear phishing.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to have to explain, because I know they're thinking that we're throwing spears at fish, but we're not. But it's a term that we use for a purpose.
Correct. It's a cyber attack method that hackers use to steal sensitive information and install malware within networks of their target that they're trying to get. It's hugely effective. It's challenging to prevent for the information technology guys within those organizations, and they like to compromise emails and redirect wire transfers from banks, businesses, and private citizens even.
Yes, I just want to make sure they understood that, and a great job of explaining it. Also, you mentioned something too, and I think it would be right for us to say this. Thank you to the Secret Service Task Force guys, because I know y'all work with them pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And they provide resources for us when we need it on a national level, especially when you're dealing with people from out of the country. I'm sure that they play an important role, or we wouldn't be involved in that task force. So I just wanted to tell them thank you to all of the task force members, because I know that you have other agencies involved and y'all work as a team, and a lot of times crossing over jurisdictional lines probably daily.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Man, look, it's a lot of information, and we're going to keep on going because it's so much. I want everyone to learn when it comes to these scams how important it is, and what we're dealing with every day, and what we are seeing. One of those two is just we have a lot of identity thefts as well, just people's identity getting stolen, and I have a personal question about that we'll get into, but to prevent something like ID, I know that they have insurance policies and or different programs they want you to sign up for. I get them all the time through email, so I don't trust anything that comes through email. What is advice on something like that?
I mean, not everybody has the money to subscribe to that, so there are some resources that are free. You can lock your credit bureaus through Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion for free. You can lock your credit report, and I suggest everybody do that. You lock your house when you leave, lock your credit. And when you need to go use it, you can unlock it that day, go use your credit, and then lock it back. It's good housekeeping.
I know that that's a big deal of people's identity thefts, and you get a lot of this, get this and we'll protect you. And you said sometimes it's not affordable to certain people, and so a little bit of money.
And unfortunately, we've had quite a few data breaches here in the state. I mean, our DMV was breached a couple of years ago. AT&T was breached. I mean, they're every day.
We had school systems. We had sheriff's offices across our state breached.
Yeah. So, I mean, if someone wants your information, it's on the internet. It's just a matter of whether or not someone's going to go looking for it.
Yeah.
So,
scary. Well, I can't wait for this next topic, crypto. Man, look, I was looking in the account the other day. We have seized more crypto than I've seized cash, man. But I don't think it's worth anything.
Well, it's worth something.
Oh, I'm sure it is. It's just so. Tell us. I know that crypto is a big thing with the gift cards and things of that one, different scams. How's that working?
So unfortunately, we have what a lot of people see as these crypto ATM machines across the parish. I think we have 11 of them in our parish, and EBR has double or triple that. I mean, they're all over the place, and the only people that use these are people that are being scammed and criminals. No legitimate person that's ever going to go buy crypto is going to go to an ATM machine.
Right.
They're not going to do it. The fees are too ridiculous. And these individuals are scamming people, telling them, it goes back to the extortion cases of the law enforcement calling you, threatening you with a warrant, threatening you with arrest. They tell them to go to these machines, and a lot of times elders are targeted, and elders don't understand what it is, so they get scared and they fall for it. And the next thing you know, $30,000 is gone like that, and there's very little we can do if we don't get notified of it immediately. Travis has been really good at seizing quite a bit of crypto in our parish.
So what is the things you should do when you deal with crypto and like gift cards, and what are some things you should not do?
So if you're going to legitimately invest in cryptocurrency, go through a legitimate cryptocurrency exchange like Coinbase, Robinhood. There's several different legitimate, safe places to, transact cryptocurrency. If anyone asks you to do any type of transactions outside legitimate cryptocurrency exchanges, there's probably a very high likelihood that it's going to be fraud. Mm-hmm. And never give out your login information for your cryptocurrency exchange access.
Yeah, so don't save it on some random website.
Definitely not. No, definitely not.
Well, unfortunately, they're spoofing login websites also. Like you'll think you're logging into your Robinhood account or Coinbase or whatever else, and you're actually logging into what's called a spoofed website. Just like whenever people get phone calls and it says the sheriff's office is calling you, it's the same thing. It's just in a web-based form. And as soon as you log in, they have your information. They turn around and empty out your crypto account.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
I've had a victim in the parish that lost in excess of $1 million in an incident that like Clyde's describing.
That's crazy. It is. But I know it's a big thing, and I know it presented a challenge for us because I know my finance director, she's our chief sales deputy at the time, came, man, I don't do it all. These guys keep seizing this crypto money, like we don't even know what to do with it. So it was an education for us, and like anything in law enforcement, every day is a different day for us. Technology's changing. I mean, look, U.S. currency's changing. This crypto thing is on a rise, so it's just always a different challenge. And I say that to tell you, both of you, that's a daily task in itself to keeping up with that stuff and learning and constantly educating yourself on not only what's going on in the street, but on the web and just in your job in general every day. It's just so much to keep up with. And again, commend you guys for that. So I know that there was a case not long ago, and I just want to bring this up because I don't want to forget about it. Counterfeit money. That's still a thing.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of people don't think it is, but it's very much a thing. I know it is in the and as well as the illegal narcotic world.
Yes, sir.
That we see a lot of the that type of money going around, and it's just something I wanted to kind of throw out there because you had a case that was pretty interesting not long ago.
I got notified back in 2021. I got notified by two of our burglary detectives that they were out with a suspect searching his vehicle. He was under investigation for some stolen property out of Baton Rouge, and they had tracked him down over off of Mack Road in our parish. And lo and behold, he had about $1,200 in counterfeit $100 bills on his person. He also had printing apparatuses. He had ink cartridges, everything that would lead us to think that he was manufacturing counterfeit money. I got on scene, questioned the suspect. He admitted he had been making counterfeit monies, contacted the Secret Service. They sent out one of their agents. We were able to do a search warrant on his residence, found all the stolen property out of Baton Rouge, and we also found a lab for creating counterfeit. He had the proper paper. He had printed bills on the paper. He had a printer, more ink cartridges, starch spray for spraying onto the paper. Because a lot of people don't realize is those pens that you mark, those $100,
right.
It's picking up the starches in the paper. It's making sure that it's the right type of paper and it's got the right kind of ink in it. And if you put enough starch on that paper, it'll mark as real. So,
and I don't mean go out there and try to learn how to do this, because you will go to jail.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, it's good. Look, man, I mean, we see so much in our career every day on the street. It's kind of funny. If I pull out $100 bill at a convenience store, it's just something inside me goes, well, I'm assuming that's real money, because at one time it was, it was a thing, and it's still a thing, because you never know when you go in and somebody gives you change at a store. If they hadn't caught it, it's going to come back to you or whatever. So people need to understand it's out there. It's real.
Oh, yeah.
And something to be very cautious of.
And now what they're doing is they're not even really doing that anymore. They're washing lower denominations, stripping everything off of them, and printing higher denominations on those bills. So that way it feels real. It looks real. You hold it up to the lights. It's got a security strip in it. But it's worthless now because they've washed it.
These criminals, they something, aren't they?
They are.
So it's a big question. Who can be a victim?
Anybody.
And I asked that question because so many times right after that, it's like, I never thought it had been me.
Yep.
I mean, I can't believe, my parents did it. I can't believe my son's a victim of this. So anybody can be a victim of this. And look, just what we have talked about so far here today, the individual from Cash App to the elder with a, whether it be a romance scam or whatever, up to a bank doing wire transfer, is so many opportunities that are out there for these criminals. And we all know criminals are opportunists, right? That's what they look for. And so it just amazes me the magnitude of this financial crime stuff, like how far it reaches out through our community and heck, man, through the country. It's just crazy.
It doesn't matter your background. Anybody can be a victim of this. I mean, we've worked cases for fellow law enforcement who've fallen victim to some of these scams, and teachers and professors. And I can't count how many times I can't believe I fell for that. Anybody can fall for it.
Yeah. And that was my whole point. I want to make sure that understand you can absolutely find yourself as being a victim of one of these scams. And no, Tractor Supply is not giving away a Yeti ice chest. No. I thought I won it 3 times, but I did not.
And no one's going to call you and tell you won the lotto.
No, they're not going to do that either. Well, also one of the other things is so this is just, I'm just curious, what do you think the most popular scam is if you had to pick one?
I mean, identity theft is what we see the most of out of everything.
I'd say extortion. I'd say definitely the extortion, because there's so many, like Snapchat, people getting on Snapchat and thinking they're communicating with a attractive person, and next thing
that's also something that happens to the younger or juveniles.
Yes, it does.
They extorted by, we kind of had this, Captain Bowden was in here, and he and I talked about some of the 14-year-olds and these individuals from another country, more than likely trying to get them to send an inappropriate picture. When they do, they kind of got them trapped. I'm fixing to, embarrass you. I'm going to go, viral with this photo if you don't either send me more or give me money, that kind of stuff.
We get grown adults that get that same scam. I've had to have that conversation a lot of times with some individuals.
Clyde seems to get all those cases.
Yeah, I bet. So I know we've talked about a lot of things here, and I know we've talked about preventing, but one more time, what do we do as I know we try to educate as much as we can through these cases, but as an individual listening in, what is, again, like one of the most important things to prevent these crimes, how to stay on top of things, identity theft, like protect your identity is one of the things, major things. And we talk about these cash apps. So, and what was it you said that was the most important thing about cash apps?
Protect your login information for one. If you have a cash app, don't give it out to anybody. Don't give them your PIN number. Secondly is protect your monetary instruments, your cards, your checking information that somebody could steal and load up to a random cash app and then transfer money. Because we see a ton of those cases come through here where, like I said, a family member has a substance abuse problem or a friend, and that's generally the person that will get the card information, load it up into a cash app, and then just start sending money out.
Mm-hmm. And remember, law enforcement, we don't call you and demand you pay us over the phone. We're not going to do that. No. And your romance scams, I mean, we know they're going to target the elder, most likely. So if you're out there listening, be careful of that. Is anything you want to add to that, Clyde?
We actually, every year we hold a SALT crime expo at our training center, and it's seniors and law enforcement together. We try to put out as much information as we can to the elders in our community. Yeah,
it's great too, because I think both of you guys will be speaking or do speak at those, and we have it every single year. Right. It's usually in March, April is when we have it. So, and it is open to the public.
Yes, sir.
And we usually post that. It goes out on our social media page, and some other vendors that are here that support that program put that information out. So be looking for that, because it like I said, we do it every year in the spring, basically. We'd love for people to be involved. And I know that y'all are very involved in trying to get that information out there. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping me educate our community. And what y'all do every day is huge. Financial crime is a huge problem. It really is. And I hope we open some eyes in our community today to understand what you guys deal with each and every day and how they could work with us and help us to kind of stop some of these things, because without them, I mean, you can't do nothing. We've always go back to that. We're only as good as the information we receive.
Yes, sir.
And also it's important to receive that information as quick as possible. And so with that, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Clyde. Thank you, Travis. I know y'all have a really busy schedule, and I hope to have you guys on in the future as well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
We appreciate being here.
Well, that's going to do it for Behind the Scenes with Sheriff Jason Ard. We appreciate all of you listening. Download our LPSO app. Follow us on social media. And again, thank you, Clyde. Thank you, Travis, for being here today. And look, as always, in Livingston Parish, we love our schools, we love our churches, and we absolutely believe in the Second Amendment. Be safe and be blessed.